everybody, my name is Carla and this is my first video. The reason why I'm doing it is because, well, it was born out of frustration. I was recently diagnosed with something that was pretty rare, and there hasn't been a whole lot of anything online about this, and so I'm going to back up a little bit, give you the history of my journey and where we're at now. This is about the middle of June right now. In April, I had a your yearly female exam that all women hate. And during the exam, they discovered that my right ovary was about 4 times the size that it should be. Now, I've never had an abnormal pap smear before or an ultrasound. I do have a child, and through all those exams, nothing was ever found to be abnormal. So it was a little scary. It's always kind of disconcerting when the nurse practitioner tells you just stay on the table, don't get dressed, let me go talk to the doctor. So they ran some other tests. They ran one of the blood work tests that they ran is called a CA-125, and it's a blood test that it's a marker that looks for I guess it looks for ovarian cancer. Mine came back elevated, but not in the number range that typically indicates that there's ovarian cancer present. So it was just really confounding to the doctor. So he recommended that we do laparoscopic surgery to go in and see if we could figure out what was going on. So on May 15th, I went in for laparoscopic surgery. We didn't know what we were going to find. We were hoping that if it was a cyst, that he could just go in and drain it and leave all of my organs there and leave them intact. So I go in there excited to get a nap. Being a mom, that was what I was looking forward to. And I talked to him right before I went under, and he said, yeah, I think we're going to be able to leave everything, and we'll get this figured out. So I wake up, and my husband comes into the recovery area and tells me that they did take the entire right ovary, but that everything else looked good, and that's all we knew at that time, that they were gonna send it out for some testing. So, oh, here's an interesting little tidbit. I actually got sent home with a catheter that day because I was not able to go potty on my own. Apparently that's something else that's normal. It did not feel normal, but because I had a catheter, I had to go back in 2 days later to get it taken out. When we went in to have the catheter taken out, the doctor told me then that it was called, that what was on my ovary was a teratoma, and the teratoma was comprised of more than 50% thyroid tissue, which made it a struma ovarii. So that's the first kind of level of my diagnosis. Immediately after the doctor left the room, me and my husband both pull out our phones and we're Googling it to try and figure out what it is. And struma ovaries are very rare. For teratomas, which is a type of growth or a tumor, struma ovaries make up like 5% of teratoma. At this point in the journey, I really didn't know what I was feeling, because from the first moment that the nurse practitioner found that enlarged ovary on the ultrasound, and, you know, with a meeting with the doctor afterwards and scheduling this and that and the other, I kept asking, what are my odds that this is cancer? How worried do I have to be that this is cancer? And everyone kept telling me, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about it being cancer. I would not worry about it. So I'd kind of put it to the back of my mind that it wasn't going to be cancer. We're Googling what a struma ovary is, and we're just all really kind of baffled. Okay, I got thyroid tissue on my ovary, but okay, they took it out, so we're good to go. My doctor calls me a couple days later and says that I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, that they sent it out to a pathology lab here in town, and they just were a little concerned about a couple areas. He says, I think it's going to be benign, but there's a couple of areas that were atypical, so they're going to send it out to another pathology lab. So they ended up sending it to the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and then my doctor goes on vacation for a week. So I get to sit on, you know, the waiting and the anticipation and the not knowing for another week. So Monday rolls around, and I'm calling the doctor's office. I just want to, you know, find out what's going on. I want to know one way or the other. You know, is it cancer? Is it not? So on Monday, he called me back about 3 o'clock that day, and my husband was a little upset with him for doing it this way, but he did tell me over the phone that my struma ovary was malignant. I had papillary thyroid carcinoma from that teratoma. What do you do at that point? I'm sure what most everybody else does, you just kind of shut down. I was at work. My boss said, why don't you go ahead and go home? So I got home. My husband happened to be home that day. I walk in the front door, and you can see I've been crying, and I think then he knew, and I told him, and we cried, or I cried. I don't know if he cried. And it's just been a really frustrating journey ever since, because like I said, there's just nothing online about this, or very little, and the stuff that I have been able to find is usually this is presenting on women in their 50s or 60s, and it's frustrating for me because I am trying to decide if I want to say my age on here. I am 35, and my husband, I don't know if we're done having kids yet, and everything I've been able to find online for malignant struma ovary, what they do is they start out with removing the thyroid. Then after that, they do radiation. Then after that, they do a radical hysterectomy. I don't know if I wanted to go through all of that. I went in and I had my post-op on the 30th of May for my incisions for the laparoscopic surgery, and on that day I talked to the doctor. Because it's so rare, there really was nobody in Knoxville that he could find that had treated this or had any idea how to treat it. He says that he talked to some colleagues and they agreed not to treat it gynecologically because it was thyroid cancer. So I got referred to an endocrinologist. So the next day, me and my husband go in to see the endocrinologist, and he'd never seen it either, but he was willing to, you know, yeah, let's go ahead and let's jump on board. Let's get this done. Let's get it taken care of. immediately wanted to start with taking out my thyroid, and then after that would go ahead and move on to radiation, but we won't schedule that right now. And I tried to say, well, you know what, the problem isn't necessarily down or with my thyroid, it's down in my female regions. And and I get what he was saying, that, oh, well, we need to do the radiation. The radiation is going to target the thyroid tissue, and we got to get rid of your thyroid, so that way when we do the radiation, it goes to the diseased tissue and not to the healthy tissue. But it just seems so counterproductive to take out perfectly, well, I wouldn't say it's perfectly normal tissue, but, to take it out to do the radiation, it just felt very frustrating. Didn't feel like it was addressing the area that I needed it to. So I was just super, super frustrated. I didn't feel comfortable with this. I didn't feel that it was going to be the best course of treatment. About this time, I had like 3 or 4 different people tell me, well, have you heard about Cancer Treatment Centers of America? Have you looked into any type of place like that? So I went online and started looking. The next day, I go into work and I talk to a coworker of mine who knew somebody who went down there and had a wonderful, great experience. He was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. They gave him 3 to 6 months to live. That was 8 years later. And I said, well, let me just check this place out. So I went online and was checking out the website, and there was a phone number to call. And so I called and spoke with like an intake person. Very wonderful, very nice. He had never heard of my situation. Surprise, nobody has. But I have to say, I haven't gone down there yet. My appointment is in 2 days to go down for all the testing and stuff, but everybody, I've talked with like 4 or 5 different people down there now. Everybody's been wonderful, and I feel really good about this decision. So that's kind of where we're at with it right now, to go down there and see how they are going to treat it. I'm hoping that we go down there and do testing and they say that, well, we can't find any cancer cells in your body, and we're just going to monitor you every 6 months. That is what I would love to hear when I get down there. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but that's going to be kind of plan A. That's what I'm hoping for. They may want to just start treating me gynecologically. They may still want to try and remove my thyroid. I really don't know what the game plan is, but I'm hopeful that they'll at least be open to looking at some alternative treatments, or maybe trying to preserve some of my female organs. That's where I'm at right now. And like I said, the main reason why I wanted to do this video is not because I like being in front of the camera or because I like videos or any of that. It's just I was so frustrated that I have this cancer diagnosis and there's nothing online that I can go to find out, for someone like me in my age bracket and that is at my stage of life. How do we treat that instead of just going in and start taking out every single flippin' organ that could possibly have touched it or been related to it? Anyway, again, that's why I'm doing this, is because I'm trying to put some information out there for others that may find themselves in my same situation. The game plan is that throughout this progress, anytime I have like a change or development that affects this diagnosis, I'm going to do a video and create a YouTube channel. I might have to get my 6-year-old to help me figure out how to do it. But that's kind of the plan. So that way, if there's ever anybody else out there who gets diagnosed with this, that they have some kind of reference to go to. And they don't feel at the mercy of the doctors who throw treatments at the wall, see if it sticks and see if it works. I'm not into that. So Anyway, guys, wish me luck. Like I said, coming Tuesday is my first appointment down in Atlanta, and keep your fingers crossed for me that I'll come out with some good news maybe. Thanks.